Hello, everyone.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey
Hello.
there.
The reception's bad.
Uh-oh. Hello, everyone. While
I can't hear
Zori
you guys. I don't know
gets
why.
his technical difficulties taken care of, hello
Again.
and welcome to Ancestral Anchor with Dr. B, Zori, and Ricky. Hello.
Hey everyone.
Oh, and I'm gonna sit Zori. I'm gonna sit Zori in the back really quickly until he gets his things together. Zori, can you hear us? Okay.
I can't hear you guys.
Okay. Leave out and come back
Don't know
in.
what the fuck's happening here. Nice.
I'm gonna remove him from the
Uh,
stage. Hold on, guys.
First time, guys. Just bear with us, yeah? It's been going so well. We've done some tests. Something had to go wrong. It's a full moon. You know how it is. And we've already got some swearing to edit.
I know, right? I know. It's okay. Listen, organic. We are organic, okay?
That
So
are.
however we need to show up, that's how we show up, okay?
Mhm.
Truth and authenticity. How are you, Ricky?
I'm well. How have you been?
I have been amazing. So, did you want to kind of tell the people what is Ancestral Anchor?
What is Ancestral Anchor? Well, basically, both yourself, and Zori, we met some years ago through social media, albeit, and we got on super well with a bunch of people as well. But basically, Zori came to us to want to start this podcast, and we all come from maybe have some similarities, but I would say also quite distinct places. You yourself, obviously, Doctor, are a doctor for one thing. I am not. You have very professional qualifications in psychotherapy, and have, along with a spiritual background.
Mhm.
I want people to obviously introduce themselves a bit, but yeah, we all come from these places where we kind of harmonize and bring these things together. And um, Ancestral Anchor was we would when we were discussing a name for this podcast. Um, Definitely, it felt important that we started from a point of ancestors, and of course, I think we started. I forgot what the first thing was before it was Anchor. It was something else, but Anchor felt so solid and grounded and right. So here we are, Ancestral Anchor.
Here we
Bring in the
are,
magic.
bringing in the magic
Mhm.
because that's the okay. So, here's the thing: a lot of people, I guess, when they hear magic
Yeah,
and spells and incantations and woo, it's so taboo and it's so tethered to
Mhm.
negativity and dark arts and all of those things. And so I think this space is so very necessary because not only can we debunk a lot of the myths behind magic and spell work and sigils and seals and things of that nature, even herbology and using earth and all of that stuff. I think we can take that and make it and make the purpose of it all more well-rounded, for everybody, understanding first and foremost that literally, whether you're aware of it or not, you're working magic all the time.
sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You're setting intentions. You're using herbs. You're anointing heads with oil. You're smudging. You're burning incense. You're utilizing all of the things and have no idea that you are literally working magic. Okay, even in the religious sector,
Yeah.
it's so funny how in religion it's frowned upon and demonized. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But even in the religious sector, there's magic happening. There's
Absolutely.
voodoo happening. There's spells and incantations happening all the time. Yeah. So what else would you have to say to that in terms of you know the whole of it all and whatnot? First, before we get into it, we got to introduce ourselves because who are we?
Yeah, of course, right.
Who are these
Who are we
people?
to be telling people this?
Right. Who are these people talking to us about this stuff? Okay. So first and foremost, I am Dr. B. I am Dr. Bianca V. Lee. I am a former, when we all first met, I was not a doctor at that point. I was only a life and purpose coach in 5 different areas of coaching. One being spiritual teaching and things of that nature. But in terms of the clairs, what do I mean about the clairs? The clear audience, clear sentience, and things like that. Oh, blah 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 blah. So I am gifted in about 8 of them in terms of my abilities and stuff like that. So I was able to bring that information, that knowledge, that experience to the table. Like you said, the table was vast. Okay, we had a lot of different um knowledges and practices and skills at the table, and it was so cool because we were able to you know just exchange and share and kind of bounce things off one another, whatever, and see some of the similarities. So it was really really cool. And so from there, in the during I think that was around 2019, 2020, something like that. That's when COVID was in the thick of things, right? And so I had, being an entrepreneur as well, I had a brick and mortar business. And so I had to shut it down because of COVID. However, I'm going to mute Zori. Let's see. There you go. Okay, so I had a brick and mortar business, and I had to shut it down because of COVID and all of the, the regulations and things like that. But the only thing I had left was my life and purpose coaching, right? That's all I had left. I was able to do that virtually and things like that, thank goodness. But I then said, I want to be my better self. I want to better my gift, my ability, my skill. And so that's what prompted me to go further into education in terms of becoming a doctorate, pursuing the doctorate in therapy and, behavior and psychology and things like that. Okay. So when I did that, I was like, okay, I can merge the two, which I do because I work with patients and I can hear what they're saying, but my spiritual abilities allows me to discern what they're not saying. It allows me to really go further and beyond the veil in terms of what they really are in need of. And a lot of times it helps so much with my patients because some of them have no idea what the actual problem is, so to speak. And so spirit can open me up to make me aware of, okay, ask this, ask that, ask them about this, or there's a presence here, or there's a element here that you're feeling. Express that to them. Okay, Zori, can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Very good. So we're just introducing ourselves. So that was the thing that brought me into not only the hoodoo space or whatever. I was inherently ancestrally, initiated into this by way of my grandmother and my other elders, even from the age of 15. That's when I was presented with this information, and that was the beginning of my cultivation through dream space through my ancestors, and that's been the case ever since. I'm literally surrounded by them every single day, every single moment, and I'm taught by them all the time. And so they were able to kind of help me to merge the two, because we are spiritual beings in a human space. You know what I mean? So it's not to say that we're just, because we're doing the woo woo stuff, that we're just, crazy kooky. No, no, no. That's who we are by nature. And so what we're doing here, the three of us, we've just taken in our different spaces. We've cultivated those spiritual attributes and applied it to our human existence. That's what that is. And so that's what we're here to kind of show you all how to do. Passing the mic to Rick.
Okay.
To Rick. All right. So Ricky, you have the floor, sir.
Sure, thank you. That was awesome. So I would say for me, growing up, I was always drawn to what would be regarded as magic, and obviously, I think that's not that unusual for kids. It really sparks your imagination. I remember having like storybooks with witches in it. And I didn't necessarily enjoy them being evil, but I did enjoy them being clever and having and being powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at a lot of the things we grow up with in these stories, they're the ones who actually have ambition, who have personality, whereas the heroes of my childhood didn't really have that. They were just very singular minded, and
Yeah.
it wasn't as interesting to me. It didn't spark my imagination the same way. And I had a lot of what people would call, I guess now, psychic experiences growing up, but I didn't associate it as being anything other than very normal. I didn't
Yeah.
think other people didn't have it. I didn't think it was particularly magical, because it was just every day.
Yeah.
And I would, when I was about 12, so I was very young, a esoteric shop opened in
Mhm.
my high street. So I would go there a lot, and I could suddenly start putting a language to what I was experiencing, what I was thinking, and realizing that a lot of the stuff that was in these books was like, oh yeah, I totally get that, or this is the kind of stuff I already believe in, if you like, things like that. And I really took to getting into magic and occultism, looking into, and again, very loaded term for a lot of people, but witchcraft. But for me, witchcraft was really this element of, it's usually around the magic of the marginalized, because it's really about magic that's not sanctioned
Yeah.
by
But
the state or religion. And it can be good, bad, and everything. I won't get into all that now because I think that's its own conversation. But I
Mhm.
got really heavily into that. And of course, with that, your craft, your art just grows and grows and grows. So, for example, like where I really enjoy herbal magic, when I first started with herbs, I was just making like mud soup. I don't know what I was making. It was
Yeah.
dreadful, right? And then you get, well, you get better at it. I start to understand it better. I start to understand its spirit better, because I didn't come from a place where, say, my grandma was going to teach me this stuff. It wasn't
Mm.
that kind of space for me. So I was learning. I was finding ways to teach myself. Um, and at the time, there wasn't, the internet became a thing around that sort of age, but in its infancy with me. So you didn't get the kind of stuff that you get now. You didn't have people training the way you do now. So I kind of just trained myself ultimately. And then in time, I would join groups. So I worked with some other magicians and covens, even like witches and stuff. I also I lead one now with someone. There's so much that sort of grows from it and prospers from it. So for me, that was really sort of my path there. Studied philosophy and theology, which allowed me to really dissect some of this stuff. And even
Yeah.
to this day, whilst I've gotten better at herbal magic through understanding its spirit better, I'm also in more recent years understanding the chemistry better, how to work with the alkaloids to understand what
Yeah.
the plant can do and stuff. And all these things just really grow and improve your craft in various ways. But obviously through that you have other skills you're interested in, like astrology, Kabbalah, all these various things.
Mhm.
So it becomes quite broad. So yeah, with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Zori.
To Zori. Passing the mic
guys,
to Zori.
how you doing, guys? My journey's pretty interesting. So for me, I grew up in a family where um everybody's sort of involved in something. Um, and because of that, I think quite early I wasn't aware. So from I would say from the ages of 0 to about 9 or 10, I wasn't aware. But by the time I reached probably say 11 or 12, and you hear stories from mum about things happening back home, why people don't do certain things. Long story short, my mum owned a white garment church, Cherubim and Seraphim, which is a blend of traditional Yoruba spirituality with Christianity and Kabbalah. They literally utilize those three things to as a vehicle for what they call their church,
Yeah.
and it's being involved in that sort of organization was sort of the eye opener to what is truly possible
Mhm.
metaphysically. From there, I decided to study Kabbalah. I decided to study Tarot. I decided to study astrology, and now I'm also initiated for Ifa, um, which is interesting because, as we all know, there's a through line. There's a through line. There's a central through line in every occult practice, every metaphysical practice. There's a central through line where I can look at Richard's thing and say, well, we do the same thing here, but in this way. I can look at Mrs. B's psychotherapist approach and say, hold on, son, we got something like that over here, but it's not quite like that.
Yeah.
And so I got to a stage where I no longer was concerned about the model I was using. And now I'm more concerned about how can I refine that central through line and then utilize it for myself and
Mhm.
also teach people to do the same.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm at now, where I teach people through the measures and means that I've learned in order to quote unquote find that central through line from the knowledge that they already have about the metaphysical practices that they're aware of
Mhm.
and tailor make it to themselves.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. I wouldn't call myself a traditional babalawo
Mhm.
because I take a different approach. And so I don't care about your stories. Like I know they're thousands of years old, but I don't care.
Yeah.
We're in the urban civilization now, right? And I'm not saying I don't care because I don't think it's a lovely thing to look at and say, that's a beautiful story that edifies us. It's lovely. It's good to teach the children. But
Mhm.
when we're at the mat and we're divining and we're all adults, I need to know what the energy signature is telling me.
Yeah.
And I need to know where to go from there. I don't care about the fancy stories and the fancy poems. That's
Mhm.
lovely. If I'm teaching, amazing. Because, you know, you will find, not all the time, but you will find the African form of divination is very ceremonial.
It is.
It's not like tarot where you just shuffle the cards and wah, wah, wah. And some people do make it ceremonial by cleansing their cards and holding their meditation
Mhm.
and all the rest of it. But from my experience, African spirituality, when they divine, there's this set of
Yeah.
and we're in 2026.
Mhm.
It's lovely. It's
Mhm.
lovely. I don't think it's wrong. I just feel like I speak to a different kind of people in the urban
Mhm.
setting, and I believe that's why I'm here to bridge the gap.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That makes
good.
sense. Yeah, I like
That's
that.
good. Yeah, that's so good. A couple of things that Zuri you said was the through line, the
Yeah,
importance of finding the through line for
yeah,
all of us, right? Because there is connective tissues in everything across the spectrum of all there is, that brings us together. There's a connection there that we all have to. I think the beauty about it for the three of us and so many others that we are aware of, and then those that we may not be aware of, we have been so blessed to find the through line and transcend the box or the corner or whatever that we were maybe introduced to, because Zori explained how from his upbringing, Christianity, Kabbalah, Yoruba, and then under for me it was Christianity. That was my gateway, right? But
mhm,
I always knew that there was something in there that I wasn't, the story was not completing for me. It was always something that I wondered more about the stars. I wondered more about the planets because I also, the child, the inner curious child in me always knew that there was something more. Like, I know from the God that you all have painted for me, and that God created all the heavens and all the earths and all of this and all of that, why are we not talking about all of the creations that the creator that created all of these things created? And what is the purpose of all of these things? So that I know that the creator did not just create all of this stuff and had no purpose for it. Like, the planets are not out there just to decorate the outer space. That's crazy. There's something connected to the creation that in Christianity, you all weren't filling in the gaps for me. And so I had to, and it's not to disrespect Christianity because there's power in the messaging there too. Of course, I had to unlearn a lot of things, right? Decolonization, deconstructing the whole patriarchal, misogynistic. I had to unlearn a lot of that stuff. But it's what's the old saying? Chew the meat, spit out the bone. I had to take what was for me and apply it, and then go deeper on my own. Even there's a scripture in the Bible that says you have to study to show yourself approved. right? So just take it. Don't just take the message of the man. You know what I mean? Take that message and you carry it out and you go further on your own. And that's exactly what I did. I'm so glad. Now, did I catch hell from it? Yep. Because family, friends, religion, tradition, oh, they chewed me out. Okay. I was almost disowned because how dare you? You know what I mean? And you're a demon. I literally was told by my mother. I love her. I know she didn't know any better at that time. She knows now because she's more open. But she called me one morning and said, I just wanted you to know I was listening to the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit told me that you are opening up a portal to hell. You're opening up a portal to Satan, and you're opening up yourself to, you're being used by demons, and you're speaking to ancestors. No, those are demons, and you're not, and I just needed to find a church and get planted and get saved and all. And I just let her talk because I'm not going to argue what I know, right? And if just because you don't know it yet doesn't mean that I have to debate with you. No, there's going to come a day when you learn it for yourself, just like I learned it for myself. I'm not going to argue with you. And so that was key there. And then talking about the different backgrounds and stuff, how we became familiarized with this realm of spirituality and stuff like that. That's good. Now, Ricky, you mentioned something when you spoke about the feeling of the herb and stuff like that. How does one feel earth? How does one feel the herb and hear from the herb?
So this predates me, obviously. I think because often I think with traditions, what you have is people who have seen a piece but not the whole, except in the case of indigenous tradition. I think indigenous tradition, the only narrowing point is, and not in a bad way, is it's on your landscape usually. That's the only difference, right? But I think they do see the whole very differently. And but with herbs specifically, there's so many ways. But one way is obviously is the fact that, to me, I'm more of a kind of animist in this thing. I think all things have a spirit, have life.
Yes.
And you have to learn to listen to your body, because the mind and the body are not. I don't believe the Descartes thing. I think our consciousness, all of it is mind and body combined.
Yes.
So when you're listening to the language of spirit, you're listening sometimes to divination tools. Obviously, you can divine with herbs. You can learn to talk to divination, but does it give you a goosebump? Does it give you a shiver? Does it give you a tingle? But also, you can directly engage with the spirit. You can take a visionary journey to speak to the spirit. But on top of that, there's actually simpler ways as well, which is how something grows, what grows with it, what does it support, what does it look like. So a really quick example is hawthorn berries are used often in heart medicine. And if you ever see the berry when it's ripe, it looks like, albeit very small, little hearts. And the thing about medicine and magic is it has absolutely always been intertwined through history. So in ancient Greek, the word for witchcraft and for herbal medicine and for poison is all the same word, in the word pharmakeia, which creates our word for pharmacy today.
Yes.
And basically, it's super interesting. But I think the thing for me is that I think it was Paracelsus said something along the lines of everything is a poison. It just depends on the degree, and it's true. Any herb that actually can heal you might go the other way if you're not careful with dosage, timing. For women, pregnancy definitely can play a part in that. And I'm not, by the way, a trained medical herbalist. This is just a trained, like I say, just sort of train myself. But the properties that are medicinal also can inform the magical. So if you go back to hawthorn, where hawthorn is about your heart's health, for example. Also, the young leaves are used for that, but people don't get the older leaves because they have more tannins in it. It makes it bitter. But they basically, you could use that for heart magic. So obviously, when people think of heart magic, they instantly think of love. But I would also say there's two other things to consider. One is life itself.
Yeah.
I've worked with that way, but also truth. And when you look at, say, ancient Egyptian narratives, your heart is measured on the scales of Ma'at, of
Yes.
truth. It's your truth fed out there. So you can work with this that way, but I would say, and not to encourage more unhealthy forms of magic, but
Mhm.
if it can help the heart, it can also harm the heart. If you
Mm.
can heal with magic, you can harm with magic. It's just a dual side power. Like nature does both itself without morals, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
the same force that means that I can walk happily on the earth is the same force that means if I fall off a cliff, I die.
Yeah.
It's neutral in that sense.
Yeah.
But so what is hostile to us isn't evil in and of itself, I would say.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate that it happens to affect us negatively.
Yeah.
So when it comes to herbs, I would say it's about, because I suppose that's the other thing is herbs that might be harmful to us aren't always harmful to animals, and vice versa,
True.
aren't there? So there's certain things that people who have cats won't keep those herbs or plants in the house because it affects them negatively. I don't get high off catnip the way a cat does as well. All these things play into
Exactly.
it. So, and that's where I'd say the chemistry also gets interesting. Um, like a lot of cleansing herbs are often astringent and bitter, like
Mhm.
rue, nettle, stuff like that, are really good for that sort of thing. So I guess like in terms of some of the stuff that we also were looking to talk about in terms of healing, we see this a lot, and I think that I really want to go to some of your work, Doctor. But one of the things I was going to mention is, and I think this is what's so important about magic and witchcraft and these kinds of skills, is that people often talk about, oh, how we're going to harm people. But I think that's what people who are taught to fear it fear. I think the people at the top of the food chain, they don't fear what we're going to harm. They fear what we're going to heal,
Yes.
because we can heal, and people who do this, walk this path, heal themselves in such a way, and heal a collective in such a way, and heal their ancestors in such a way that
Yes. Yes.
you can really pave the way to break out away from these really toxic structures and
Mhm.
see through those toxic structures.
Mhm.
So for me, I think that is the crux of a lot of this. That yes, they always talk about how we're going to harm and what we might do to harm, but when you look at what they demonize the most, it is the stuff that heals. So they demonize ancestral veneration and call it
Yeah.
necromancy.
Yeah.
They immediately want to say it's a sin to speak to the first interface you have with the spirit world.
I know.
Um, things like the trickster sort of spirits often become the devil. I've heard people, obviously, you're very familiar, and I know obviously, Zori, coming from being a Babylon, you've heard that some people refer to Eshu as this devil-like character, and I think it's because he knows how to fight in oppression. Ultimately, he
Yeah.
knows how to trick the power that has the larger weapons, right? So,
Mhm.
I,
and with herbs is another one. Herbs that grow all around you. You don't need to worry about what the official medical people that when you can collect it yourself and give people cures and remedies. And I think um, all of that is why those practices have such heavy demonization comparatively.
Yeah. Do you all think that our the reverence for the work that we do is geographically motivated? Say for instance, with you two, you're in the UK, but Zuri, you're by way of Nigeria, yeah, and so I'm in the US, but my people are indigenous, Choctaw Native American, as well as African, West Sub-Saharan African, descent. So there's and I being African American, I was born in America, but my literally the generation just
Mhm.
2 generations back is indigenous. You know what I mean? My mom is a combination of both indigenous and African, as well as Irish. Okay, so there's the Irish because 4 generations back, my grandfather was a slave owner,
Wow.
right? And so, of course, 4 generations back, my grandmother was the slave that he abused. And then they produced 3 generations back, my grandfather,
Right.
right? And so he being ostracized, he being, disowned or whatever by his father, obviously, and relegated to slave, to, being treated as a slave. But his complexion was just as fair, if not fairer, than yours, Ricky.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. He could have absolutely passed as white,
Hmm.
for sure. But because his father didn't want him, because he was born from a black woman, then that's how our blood became mixed and things like that. So it goes back to the question: do you all think that our exposure to what we are aware of and gifted in and things like that is geographically located, is geographically motivated, I should say?
When you say geographically motivated, give me your context. Mm.
Do you believe that because you are in the UK, or was, or was born a Nigerian, do you believe that that's why you were exposed to the methods and the modalities that you were exposed to?
That is a positive. To me, for me personally,
Hmm.
that is a positive because the culture you're born in already gives you access to certain things.
Yeah.
Um, and I can definitely say the way I practice magic and mysticism is definitely a whole hodgepodge of Yoruba UK upbringing.
Yep.
Do you understand what I'm
Yep.
saying? There's no two ways about it for me personally.
Hmm.
Um, so I would definitely say for me that a lot of how I practice is definitely influenced by my culture, my ethnicity, my experiences, where I live, where I grew up, for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah. Good. What about you, Ricky?
Yeah, I think it's unavoidable because I was raised in Judaism and I don't follow it really today. But I absolutely can say I got a lot from it as well.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I think it's bizarre to me because a lot of the time, unless you're in certain types of communities within that, like I grew up not knowing much about the mystical within that religion
Sure.
as a kid. No one talked about much magical stuff. The closest I remember that coming up was the story, of there's one in the book of Numbers of a king called Balak who goes to see a sorcerer called Balaam to curse the Israelites, and that's the closest I remember getting there. And there's a talking donkey, so I always used to I would imagine today that would sound like Eddie Murphy because of Shrek, but I.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like what does get me with Judaism is how there's so much simple ritual and things, and I think it was the same with Christianity, if I'm honest, but it was very much a kind of culture and way of life, but definitely something that created a separation
Mm.
from Christianity. Christians, I didn't grow up fearing the devil because we don't have a devil in Judaism,
Yeah.
so there
Yeah.
was none of that side of it. They didn't talk about hellfire or any of that, so that
Yeah.
wasn't the side of it. So I guess my thing was what I saw was I'm in the UK, very much British. Um, my family moved to England in the early 1900s, I think, at one point, different points, because actually my mum's family were in Scotland.
Okay.
Um, and I definitely think that from even just that alone, like that, I get a lot from the Scottish stuff. I get a lot from English stuff, but equally also having to deal with, like, I think there's this interesting thing where in England there was these movements to try and create magical traditions because a lot of them had been lost to Christianity. And I would say there's a hell of a lot of issues, obviously, in the development of them and around appropriation that
Yeah.
some modern practitioners at least are deconstructing and doing better with. Some are just not and don't seem to understand it or care or think it doesn't matter. I don't know, but I think that's the other thing when calling this ancestral anchor is I know a lot of people, a lot of Caucasian people get challenged on, well, which ancestors are you working with? Because imagine if they're all working with the ancestor that you had, right? That kind of person. And I would always say that it's very important that we don't let white people off from not working with their ancestors. not dealing with that trauma and to face that properly. Obviously, if you're just doing it, what's the word, to get shit, then it's not a real spiritual. But if you're facing the past and you're facing the problem, you're making changes and you're trying to do better, and like that's the stuff you need to get from it. And I think to
Yeah.
suggest that you can't basically just gets people off from having to straight up deal with those facts. I think, and that was the thing I guess about English and British magic is there is you get like probably one of the biggest one here who industrialized magic almost is the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn years ago. But from them came people like Aleister Crowley, from to Dion Fortune. Dion Fortune was massively racist, was
Mm-hmm.
massively problematic, but she was also a woman doing this at a time where being a woman doing this wasn't easy. Right now, I'm not saying that makes it okay by any means,
Sure.
but I am saying things are complicated and things are worth looking, because I don't think she had the sort of power that Crowley had in terms of political, because he was a man, so he could do more with that. So I feel that in the English side of this, there's a lot you can get from it, but you absolutely need to face the colonial past of it all. The British pretty much almost invented um, that form of colonialism. Obviously, colonialism has existed from centuries before, but the type that we see there, Britain really pushed the boat out, as it were, on that side of
Yeah.
it. And to need to break that down, I think, is really important to um, challenge it and to be able and not to be fragile about that,
Yes.
which is what I think a lot of white people react to. If I'm honest, they get very fragile about having to face this stuff because they think, well, if I can't do this, what's left for me? And I'm like, that's kind of the point, actually. So
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, even I know Zori mentioned reading tarot. A lot of there's things in the tarot which are very Greco-Egyptian. You
Yeah.
know, there's a whole. I mean, the Wheel of Fortune's the best example. You've got very Greco-Egyptian symbology in that. So I feel like there's periods where obviously cultures do share and come together, or for
Yeah.
better or worse as well. In your case, you've got it in quite a violating, awful way as well, right?
Yeah.
But that also doesn't mean you don't have access to heal that and deal with that.
Absolutely. For sure.
Um, and I think that's the important message ultimately.
Yeah.
But it's a tough one as well.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Even in terms of the ancestors, like in my case, 4 generations back, being an enslaver and
Mhm.
their son. Just to give a story about that in particular, I have altars and I have the ancestors that I was connected to on Earth or has appeared to me
Mhm.
since in dream spaces or appear to me be mounted, whatever the case. And so um one of which is the wife of the son that was born
Uh-huh.
from the enslaver and the
Sure,
enslaved.
yeah.
But I have an image, I have a picture of the two of them. It's a black and white in real time. I have the image. And so
Sure.
um I always, when I saw her, I never knew their name. She came to me and told me her name. Okay. And
Mhm.
when I made the altar for them, for some reason, I never had any connection to him at all. It was like it was just blocked off, cut dry. Like I can't get through to him at all. But her open, the whole
Sure.
one too. And so I was always wondering, like, what is it? What is going on? Like, I mean, I can't even pick him up. I can't get access to anything. I can't even feel anything about him. And so, but I still kept, I still venerated. I still put the food. I still put the alcohol, whatever, on the altar for him. Just to honor in the event that whenever he comes through, he can
Yeah.
come through, right? And so I left it alone. And maybe a year went by, and I was in my room watching some program, just maybe something, Disney, whatever. And just at the end of my bed, at the foot of my bed, he appeared, and
Sure.
it startled me. I was like, "Okay, hi." I was like, "Hi," and he says, it was so weird because his presence was so authoritative. It was very dad like,
Mhm.
but it was gentle at the same time. It's almost like the strength card, right? Like I'm
Sure.
this, but I'm calm. I'm eased right now. And so
Mhm.
I said hi, and he says, "Promise me, you'll never try to contact me again." It
Okay.
hurt when I tell you, mind you, I never met this man in my life, in this
Yeah.
life. When I tell you my heart crushed and I immediately started bawling, crying as if
Mhm.
my best friend had just died, right? He
Mhm.
says, "Promise me you'll
Mhm.
never try to contact me again." And I was like, oh my God. And even through the hard tears, I was, yeah, yes, sir. Really like, and I was like, why? And I'm thinking, my conscious self is thinking, like, why are you so emotional? You don't even know this man,
Yeah, because it
but
wasn't yours. It
it,
was, yeah.
right. And
Mhm.
so instantly, the connection to who he was to me, instantly. And so I said, yes, sir, yes, sir. He says, very good. Literally, he started to fade out slowly. Now he didn't leave as abruptly as he appeared, but he faded out very slowly. And as he was fading, throwing kisses and saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." I was so emotionally connected to him instantaneously. And so when he appeared and when he disappeared completely, I'm sitting here like, what was that about? And so sure enough, I was able to gather myself, and with a clear understanding, I heard so clearly, him him keeping you from accessing him is his protection of you. The
Right.
reason is because if you can reach him and connect with him, then his father, that
Mhm.
ugly spirit, can access you.
Mhm.
And so the only thing that he can do for you right now in the spirit realm is
Mhm.
protect you from that.
Yeah.
And if that means then you can't reach him, then
Mhm.
so be it.
Yeah. But also that might mean one of your people coming from your family later, they might end up with a different relationship because of what you've done.
Exactly.
And it's, yeah. And I would say, like, what you've just said, I think what's important is that when you were asking me also about like how you speak to, it's the same with a herb. If you try and sit with a herb and it makes you shed a tear, it tells you it can help you release, right? So
Yes.
your emotions are part of that language. The language of spirit is just so broad and vast. And I think a lot of people just expect they'll hear a voice or see a vision. And it's about being open to your body, your thoughts,
Yes.
everything. Everything will tell you something. And I think
Yes.
that's what people are often missing. It's not just about getting a crystal ball and expecting it to behave like a television.
Yeah.
It's really about your whole body being involved.
Whole body being involved. That's big. And that's exactly what you with the work that I'm doing. I think right now the world is hungry for this information now, finally, right? Like we've been getting it, yes, but it is more widespread right now. It's more receptive right now. Like I said, my mom was a Christian fanatic. She was not trying to hear anything about ancestors, incense, tarot cards. How dare you, right? Now, my mother called me. She listens because I do the astrological reels and things like that about the transits. My mother called me one day after listening to one of my videos and said, "Hey, I have a question. I listened to the last video you did and I didn't hear anything about cancers. What's the cancer message?" I said, "Excuse me?" Not
I
even
guess your
this.
portal to hell has done its job.
I was like, what? Oh my God. I did a run around my house like, oh my God, this is a big deal. Which means that hearts are softening some and
Yeah.
opening up some and being more receptive and understanding that, hey, there may be more to this than what I have been given. I understand you know what you know. That's great. But what you know is not all there is to know.
Mm.
There's such vastness in knowledge and information and understanding. We are vast. Our individual selves, just mind, body, soul, is vast. That will keep us busy, just discovering who we are in
True.
this spiritual and physical realm, and the integration of the two. How are we to be? Like golly, I'm 100% spirit. I'm 100% man. How what am I supposed to do with all of this? You know what I mean? And how do I utilize this and harness this ability and make it and make it a beautiful life with that. What am I supposed to do with all this power in my hands, literally, right? So that's what we're here to do, in our way, you know what I mean, in our very little bit, because we're expanding and expounding and growing and adding to and removing and purging and shifting. We're doing that even now too, even with what we are aware of.
Yeah.
It's ever growing, ever changing, you know. So Zori, did you have any other add-ins to what we've been saying?
I'm so sorry, I got cut off because my phone overheated.
That's okay.
Um,
It's the time of
yeah,
year.
Yeah.
right. Are you touching on how to communicate with ancestral energies?
I talked about a story with one of my elder fathers, and how he appeared to
Okay.
me and told me not to try to connect with him, because I was adamant about connecting with him, and he told me not to. And I learned why. It wasn't that he just didn't want to have anything to do with me. No, he was literally shielding me from the ancestors that were before him, that were not kind. Those ancestors didn't
Okay.
want him around, let alone
Okay.
want me around. And so he's my barrier between the ugly spirits in the bloodline
Yeah,
versus
got you.
the protective. He that was his. That's the only thing that he could do for me, is protect me from them. You know.
It's so it's interesting you say that, right? And that's one of the reasons why I thought that an appropriate name would be something that would mention ancestors, regardless of whatever it was
Mhm.
before it or after it. I knew it had to be ancestors. Um, because as Ricky has rightly said, the real first form of power and potency in terms of accessing who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget about the mystical stuff. This is who you are. Who's your mother? Who's your mother's mother?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because without your mother's mother, you wouldn't be here,
Yep.
right? So I think that ancestral work is probably the most fundamental work for human existence,
It's true. Yes, I agree.
right? If we it's it possesses the human mind so much that we're breaking down DNA.
Mhm.
That's how essential it is to the psychology of our existence. Because if
Yes.
our great grandmothers didn't develop a particular way of living, they might not survive through that era, and then we wouldn't be here,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
right?
Said that. I talk about
Um,
that in my book, where I have a chapter where it talks about the ancestral cabinet, because a lot of us are
Mhm.
harnessing and holding things in us and dealing with things in us that has nothing to do with us. They are our
you're
ancestors'
absolutely
unfinished
correct.
business.
You are absolutely correct. I was speaking to a friend and a student today and yesterday about what we call it, generational pathology,
Yeah.
right? And so if your grandma was raped, you're more likely to get raped. And if your grandma was abused, you're
Yep.
more likely to get into an abusive
Yep.
relationship,
Yep.
right? And the
You
Christians
just
would
named
call it a generational curse, right?
you just named everything that I had to pinpoint in my bloodline on my mama's side. You literally, those two were the two that every woman in every generation connected to me, including me, had to deal with, both
Yeah,
rape and relational abuse. And I had to say, oh God, I mean, that's how you identify what the thing is, the pathology is. Look at the patterns, generational patterns. That's, yep, you just put all my family's business in the streets. Thank you, Dory.
you're welcome, madam. Absolutely welcome, madam.
But
That would
I
be
think
5.99. That would be 5.99. Go on.
I think the thing for me is like, the instant access is because they are a part of you. But I mean, we just mentioned obviously ways which are important, but there's also ways which are obviously positive. It's your ancestors are in your blood.
Yes.
literally in your blood. They're in your face because people will see people. You'll see a cousin and go, "Oh my god, that looks like my uncle," or
Yeah.
and a cousin who could look like your mother almost. Like
Yeah.
like oh, you'll see it just in the eyes.
Mhm.
We pass all this down very physically, and in doing so, get access to that. But it also means that your aunt who was maybe reading tarot, that skill will get passed to you in some
Yep.
way. It may even take a different form. It may be a different form of divination. But your aunt who had knowledge of various things that can get passed to you. All these, your I should maybe say also your uncle that who could heal with a touch.
Yeah.
All that can get passed to you, or you can find ways to try and access that. I'm gonna say that some of them have a like you can get people who will refuse, like you did, like don't touch this power, and there'll be a reason for that. It might be that this power needs to rest. It will
Yes.
go to the next. I don't know. There's loads of reasons, but um, it's the fact that it does give you blessings, but it gives you things to heal.
Mhm.
But I think if people focus on, and I mean, obviously, I don't want to under dramatize some of it because you're talking about obviously in what you just said some really serious spiritual psychological trauma. We're
Yes.
talking about violations of a sexual nature. If we're talking about that's extreme, I don't judge people who can't get over that hurdle. It's a rough thing to
Yes.
have to deal with. I
Yes.
fortunately haven't had experience of that, so I don't wouldn't know what I'm even talking about to begin it.
Yes.
But I think that what I will say is that the violence of it, though, the violence of that act
Mhm.
is something that is very much, we know where we have a culture of that in certain spaces. Like the reason is it didn't just happen, I would say, because yes, it did happen, like, where you have the pattern of if it happened to your mother, it might happen to you, but it's because the man was protected as well from consequence of those acts, right? And you have all that, which is big because that's more like, a toxic cultural issue to deal with, right?
Mhm.
But I think that all of that comes streaming into this in a way that there's a lot to process. And being able to heal that is a process, and it's something which you as a person, to varying degrees, you might find you can. I don't want to suggest you can't completely heal. You might completely heal from it. You might not. You might not. But it's because the next generation will, because of how far you did get. I
Yeah.
think I once I saw a show where someone was talking about he had a really he had a dad who was really like a bit nasty to him.
Mhm.
Um, and when he died, in fact, God was in this cartoon I was watching, and God says to him, "You never met his dad, your grandfather, did you?" And he explained how he was worse. And he described it as the generations passing down a punch, and the trick being to lighten the punch with each generation.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes that's unfortunately the best we can do. I think
Yeah.
some people have like X-Men evolution elements, like they just go full stream ahead and they actually do get there. But I think a lot of the time it is that kind of lighter punch
Yeah.
method, unfortunately. It'd be good if people didn't need that, but it just seems the way that we operate for better.
Yeah. That is so very true. And that's one of the reasons why therapy is necessary as well, right?
Yeah.
Because and this is why we as spiritual practitioners, if you will, if we had to label, so I hate a label, my God. But if we had to, because we're vast, there is no one thing that I am, right? There's no one thing that you are. But there's a reason for us to be so tapped into our spiritual abilities, who we are innately, who we are by nature, and then bring that to the marketplace, bring that to the world in the realms of medicine, in the realms of academia, in the realms of, you know what I mean? How do we, the importance of bringing those realms together, because as my book states, the spiritual dimension of, right, there is a spiritual dimension in every single thing that we do day to day. Eating, there's a spiritual dimension to eating, there's a spiritual dimension to sex, there's a spiritual dimension to everything. And as long as we're interacting in the vastness of all that is, there is a spiritual dimension of it. And so we have to, a lot of us in the beginning were unaware of the spiritual bigness of all there was. And so now in this space, what we're doing is we're teaching and walking through in our way, walking, others through identifying the spiritual dimension and how you can integrate it into your world, right?
Mhm.
So that's what we're doing. So we're gonna go. We're a monthly segment, you guys. Starting off, we're gonna be coming on here once a month. And so we'll let you know when our next airing is going to be. So stay tuned. We have a lot to talk about, you guys, moving forward. We're going to be talking about, deconstructing, decolonizing, closed and open practices. We're going to be talking about tarot. We're going to be talking about astrology. We're going to be talking about a lot. Trust me, we'll be communicating about several things on several different levels and planes. Okay. For sure. Moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So once a month starting off. What were you about to say, Ricky?
I was just saying, we're likely to potentially also organize this in a way that you will know we will have a theme, so we
Yes.
can address a theme that I think in the next one, because this ended up being a really good broad introductory video.
Yeah.
But I really think in our next one we'll probably do some. I don't want to hold us to it, but something to say around what we originally were going to talk about was of healing. I really wanted to bring your book up more and get into that a bit more, so we
Yes.
could talk about spiritual forms of healing, how that applies to Western medicine or doesn't,
Mhm.
various things around that sort of
Absolutely.
space. So yeah, there'll be a bit of a thing there, and we may, after maybe like half an hour or so discussion of that, start talking about the current state of transits in
Yes.
astrology at the time, what kind of spiritual practices are good for that.
Mhm.
So yeah, there might be a lot to unpack, but we will give you more information as we go. And obviously we want this to be organic. So if
Yeah.
people reach out to us and want things and we discuss it after seeing things that we could change it, we might do that. So I wouldn't set it in stone, but I would give it an ancestral anchor. There we go. I went there. So yeah.
Very good. Zori, do you have any final words before we get? Because what I'm gonna do is we're gonna give the final message, and then we're gonna just close out with the astrological transits, and then go straight on out the door. Okay. So that way you all can, we can shut it down. Because if you all don't realize, those who are viewing, Ricky and Zori are way ahead of us right now. Like they're pushing on tomorrow. Like they're near Thursday right now. So they're hours ahead of us, depending on where you're watching from. So me over in the US, it's still the afternoon, evening, early evening. So I still have time. So we're gonna let them get their beauty rest, okay, while they're getting ready for their next day and on all of those things. So yeah, so we're gonna try to you know give you all as much as we can in the hour time that we have, but it's definitely going to be worth it. You want to come each time with pen and paper. You want to come and gather your notes and things like that. If you're gleaning from or adding to, whatever the case, it's an exchange. You know what I mean? We are here walking each other to our best, most sacred divine selves. You know what I mean? So we don't know more than you. We're not up here and you're down. No, no, no. We're collectively walking hand in hand together. Okay. So, Zori, what is your final words for the people?
Stay mystical.
What'd you say?
He said,
Stay
"Stay
mystical.
mystical."
It's stay mystical. Love it. Stay mystical. We need a T-shirt. Stay mystical.
I'm imagining some great images actually, but it does include Zori on the t-shirt, like saying "Stay mystical." Yeah, that
Stay
way.
mystical. I
Yeah.
listen. I have merchandise. We can do it. We can do it. Say no more. We can.
You know,
We can
I know
do
what's going to
more.
happen though, because I know you two. You're going to be dropping bars every so often, right? And it's going to be another T-shirt. So we're going to have to note it because I know you both. You're going to end up saying
Oh, we
something.
we definitely got to get
Yeah,
Zori like this here, like this.
it's like, yeah.
That is too funny. That is
Mhm.
hilarious. Okay, guys. So listen, we're gonna go into the astrology for
Yeah.
August. Okay, so make sure you jot it all down. There's great information about all the transits and then how it's going to affect you, what house, all of this and then the third. Okay, so stay tuned, listen to it, and then afterwards, it's gonna shut down automatically. So we'll see you guys next month. Be sure to follow us on social media, Ancestral Anchor, and on Instagram, right? And then
Mhm.
are we on TikTok or?
Oh, I think we are. I think we are.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Ancestral Anchor on TikTok, Ancestral Anchor or underscore Anchor on Instagram. Okay. Make sure you go and follow to stay tuned. You'll be able to see some clips of every segment that we do. Also, if you have any questions, you want to share some things, you want us to talk about some topics, be sure to email us at ancestralanchor@gmail.com, okay? Ancestralanchor@gmail.com. For either one of us, no matter what the question is, we'll get it, we'll talk about it, we'll acknowledge and things like that. Also, there's going to be some times we're moving forward that we're going to have on-screen guests, okay? So be sure to look out for that. And if you want to come up, if you're watching and you want to come up and you want to ask a question live, feel free to do so. Let us know, and we're here for you, okay? All righty. Until September.
Yeah.
No, the end of August. End of August.
Oh, yeah.
End of August. But check this out. Make sure you have your pen and paper for the astrology transits for the month of August, okay? We have so much to talk about because August is serving up an absolute cosmic masterclass. We're walking straight through an intense eclipse portal while our inner, outer, and asteroid powerhouses undergo massive shifts across the sky. If July was about us warming up our voices, August is the alchemical crucible, let me tell you. The universe isn't just asking us to shine this month. Absolutely not. It's actively stripping away every old story, every ego defense, every outdated contract, and every toxic karmic tie that has kept us from standing in our full, heart-centered authority. Let's walk through this in complete timeline together, step by step, so you know exactly what cosmic weather we're navigating in August. Starting with the 3rd. Chiron stations retrograde. We open a month with that wounded healer pausing in earthly Taurus. It's time for us to audit deep-seated wounds around physical security, body image, scarcity, and self-worth. Where are you still feeling not enough in the material world? Moving on to the 6th. Yes, God, honey, Venus enters her home sign of Libra. Grace, harmony, charm, and a sweet necessary balance to our relationships. Softness and diplomacy become our ultimate flex here, okay? August 9th, Mercury enters Leo. The planet of communication steps into the lion's den, giving our words dramatic flair, passion, and bold conviction. Say what you mean from the heart, people, okay? August 11th, action-oriented Mars steps into sensitive Cancer. Our motivation becomes deeply protective, intuitive, and emotionally driven. Just watch out for passive-aggressive snaps when you feel cornered. Use this fire to defend your peace and build your sanctuary. And on the same day, Juno retrograde enters Capricorn. The asteroid of sacred commitment and partnership moonwalks back into Capricorn. We are auditing our long-term contracts, business alliances, and marriage structures. Are your commitments built on real structural equity or just obligation? August 12th, Ceres, the asteroid of maternal care, nourishment, and abundance, joins Mars in Cancer. Nurturing your nervous system, your home, and your physical body becomes a non-negotiable spiritual practice here, okay? On the same day, a new moon total solar eclipse in Leo. Now this is the big one. A massive fated reset around our visibility, leadership, identity, and creative authority. An old performative way of seeking approval gets eclipsed out, so our authentic hearts can step onto the throne. Love that for us. On August 14th, Pallas, the asteroid of wisdom, strategy, and creative pattern recognition, stations retrograde. Time to turn our strategic gaze inward and reevaluate our long-term master plans. August 22nd, the sun steps off Leo's royal stage and into Virgo's master workshop. Hello. We move from bold inspiration to practical execution, daily rituals, and fine-tuning our craft. Welcome to Virgo season right here. On August 25th, Mercury steps into its home sign of Virgo, giving us razor-sharp analytical precision and immaculate mental clarity. Oh my goodness, we love that. On the same day, Vesta, the asteroid of sacred devotion, focus, and the internal flame, turns retrograde. We're asked, what are you dedicating your sacred energy to? Time to clear away distractions and tend to your inner altar. Then on the 28th, full moon partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. Here's an emotional spiritual culmination lighting up our intuitive worlds. This eclipse washes away old coping mechanisms, spiritual illusions, martyr tendencies, and emotional exhaustion. Let the tears flow, my love. It's a sacred soul cleansing, okay? And finally, on August 31st, we close the month with pure cosmic magic. Expansive Jupiter in fiery Leo forms a harmonizing trine with disciplined Saturn retrograde in Aries. Bold dreams meet realistic long-term infrastructure. What we build right now has true staying power. Now, we're about to get into the good stuff, people. Listen for your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus to see where this intense month of eclipses, asteroid retrogrades, and ingresses is activating your chart, okay? First, Aries. Aries, my loves, the August 12th Leo solar eclipse resets your 5th house of creative joy, romance, and self-expression. Stop asking permission to be happy, Aries. As Ceres and Mars shift your drive and the Sun and Mercury into Virgo, channel that revived passion into your daily routines, physical health, and work systems, okay? Taurus. Chiron retrograde early in the month audits your personal self-worth, while the Leo solar eclipse completely resets your 4th house of home, family, and inner roots. An old domestic story is ending for you, Taurus. By the time Virgo season and the Pisces lunar eclipse hit, your creative spark and joy roars back to life. Love that for you. Gemini, the Leo eclipse clears out old mental loops in your 3rd house of communication. With Mercury entering Virgo on August 25th, expect a massive breakthrough idea for your brand or writing. Use late August to anchor that brilliant vision into your home and sanctuary, okay? Cancer, Mars and Ceres both enter your sign on August 11th and 12th, giving you massive drive and a deep need to nurture your peace. The August 12th solar eclipse resets your 2nd house of cash flow and self-worth. Release old scarcity mindsets here, okay? Your value is non-negotiable. Late August amplifies your voice and local community impact, okay? Happy birthday, Leos. The total solar eclipse on August 12th is in your sign. An old version of your identity and how you present to the world is officially eclipsed out. Step out of the performative mask and into raw, authentic radiance. As the Sun and Mercury moves into Virgo, that personal rebirth transforms into financial sovereignty. Okay, make your money. Virgo, early August asks for quiet spiritual clearing during the 12th house Leo eclipse here. But once the Sun on August 22nd and Mercury on August 25th enter your sign, you, my love, are crowned. The end of the month ends with a powerful Pisces lunar eclipse in your 7th house of relationships, clearing out toxic dynamic balances so you can lead properly. Okay? Libra, Venus entering your sign on August 6th brings irresistible charm. The Leo solar eclipse resets your 11th house of community, networking, and big dreams. Align with true allies, Libra. True allies. As Virgo season takes over, retreat to restore your nervous system before your birthday season arrives, okay? Scorpio, the Leo solar eclipse on August 12th brings a massive fated turning point to your 10th house of career and public authority. Claim your professional crown here, okay? When Virgo season hits, collaborate with your higher frequency tribe to build sustainable future systems. Sagittarius, the Leo eclipse resets your 9th house of publishing, travel, and high vision. Old limiting philosophies are burned away. Late August pushes you straight into the spotlight as Virgo season lights up your 10th house of career mastery. Capricorn, Juno retrograde entering your sign on August 11th audits your core commitments. The Leo solar eclipse hits your 8th house of shared assets, deep healing, and intimacy. Release old control mechanisms and debts, Capricorn. As Virgo season opens up late August, your worldview expands. Expect breakthroughs in publishing, teaching, or high-level strategy. Aquarius, the August 12th Leo solar eclipse resets your 7th house of committed one-on-one relationships. Perform dynamics are out. Real sovereign equity is in. Late August takes you deep into the 8th house to restructure shared finances and deepen authentic intimacy, okay? And lastly, Pisces. The Leo solar eclipse resets your 6th house of work, health, and daily systems. But the ultimate moment comes on August 28th with the partial lunar eclipse in your sign. You are shedding an old emotional skin, releasing martyr tendencies because you all tend to do that, and stepping fully into your intuitive authority. Love that for you, Pisces. That, my loves, is our official complete astrological blueprint for the month of August. Look at what this month is asking of us. It's asking us to let the old performative armor and outdated contracts burn away in the Leo eclipse fire so that our real unshakable truth can be refined in Virgo's sacred earth. You don't have to force the transformation, people. The universe is naturally clearing the room for us. Just allow. Trust the eclipse reset. Honor the asteroid audits. Let your nervous system be cured and nurtured by Ceres. And when that Jupiter-Saturn trine hits on August 31st, know that the foundation you've built is made to last, okay? Wear your crown with ease. Keep your nervous system regulated and remember exactly who you are. Remember, I love you. I mean it. There's absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. We're holding space for your highest evolution. And I'll see you next month for our next astrological month of transits, okay? Stay grounded, stay sovereign, and have a magnificent August.